Well, good evening, everybody. It's been 3 weeks now since we've been on the air last. So it's been a while. I took a little vacation, so I was down in the Florida sun. And, oh, there's the music. Couldn't hear the music on my speakers. I was down in the Florida sun, and I came back to the Northeast, and we had a snowstorm today. So as I was driving around in my car or daydreaming or in the shower, getting my top knot wet, I was thinking, what am I doing up here? I want to be in the warmth. But here we are, waiting for spring. But yes, we are back with the Cosmic Human Design podcast. We're excited to have everybody with us. We already got some great people here with us on the chats, and thank you for joining us. We are live, so there is live chat boards. I will do the best I can to attend to you guys during the show as we discuss all kinds of topics. And today we're doing the daily Cosmic Human Design chart, and then we're going to go into spells, projections, and poison arrows. What a great subject that's going to be. We're really looking forward to that. Welcome back, JARIN. How's everything going for you, sir?
It is going well. I got a little sunburnt yesterday down here, I must admit. So you enjoy that snow. I had my fair share of it. 7 weeks of it was long enough.
Yeah.
It is good to be back on. Welcome, everybody. A couple times in a row now, we've taken 3 weeks in between shows. Yeah. So we really look forward to this. And this topic is going to be, I can feel it. It's going to be awesome to chat about. And it really is the source of, to me, just about everything.
Yeah,
how we use our words to ourselves and to each other, and how that affects our life. So this would be a great topic to talk about, and I'd be interested to look at the design for the day as well, because it's partially about listening. So I'll be happy to listen to what Richard has to say about the chart for today.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, JARIN KENYON, he is a manifestation teacher and travels around and works with clients. So, and also does Cosmic Human Design charts as well, and very big into human design for 10 years now, JARIN, correct? About 10 years.
Yes, about 10 years.
Yeah, that's a long time to spend on something. So you really believe in this stuff completely, and have it ingrained in you. So.
Oh, wholeheartedly. Absolutely. I mean, of course, 8 years of it was using the false system, which I had no choice of. And for about 3 years of that, knowing that we needed to get it correct, someone needed to do it. And then thankfully, Richard has. So then for the past year, we've been using only the Cosmic Human Design for the accurate blueprints for everybody. And I'd have to say, nothing could be 100% with how people view things, but I'd say it's been 99% overall effective and very beneficial to people who have had the open mind and who've tried it out a little bit.
Excellent. And of course, we have Richard Mason. He did all the mathematics for this new Cosmic Human Design system. So we're using the old human design, but he updated it by churning the chart and getting it aligned up with the right astrology. And now we've got all the right types and all that kind of stuff. And of course, his Yale education helped him with that. How you doing tonight, Richard?
Hey, what's up, Greg? Doing pretty well. Just trying to get in and stay in those cosmic vibes, really feeling the cosmic vibes, working on a lot of stuff, guys, this whole Cosmic Human Design thing, it's kind of like, I'm just going with the flow with it. I wanted to get the new chart out to you guys as soon as possible. But there's a lot more behind all this that, I haven't really talked about, because it's, in my opinion, it's just so much stuff. It's just, so many things I want to include in this. That will all be coming out soon. TM soon. So there's a lot to be excited for, guys. This is really the natural evolution of human design and the gene keys as well. Let's not forget about the gene keys. This updates the gene keys as well. So everyone who's just into the gene keys, I know there are quite a few of those people actually who are just into the gene keys and, maybe only looked at human design once or twice and really got on board with the gene keys. But this is an update to gene keys as well. So yeah, happy to be here for another show, guys. And yeah, the topic we have tonight and also the daily we have tonight go very well together, I think, because both of these, both the topic and the daily are very relevant to the times we're going through right now. Especially, I want you to think about the media, what you see on the media as we're going through these topics, and what are they putting out there, that most people are listening to. And indeed, we're talking about the 13th gene key today, which is in a way all about listening, specifically discernment. We'll talk about more about that in a second. And then the topic we have, projection, spells, and poison arrows are, various ways that words can be used wrongly, that words can be used wrongly, and that create negative effects on our consciousness, which is exactly, in a way, what this mass media machine is doing. So I want you to keep that in mind for the topic. And yeah, feel free to write comments as we go through this, guys.
Yeah, we already got them started. They're doing a good job here. So
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. The world right now is absolutely full of deception, and you have to watch what you do and say in your daily life because we're programmed into the system. And as much as you want to be spiritual, or as much as you want to step away and say, like, I'm not part of that system, or I'm going to do the best I can to stay out of it, you still find yourself saying those spells, doing those actions that are repeated over and over and over, that are continuously putting you in bad spots, in spots where you're not growing, where you're not expanding, where you're not pure. And so, we always have to be checks and balances on what we're doing. And this is a great topic we're going to talk about. And we can really get deep into, like you said, the things that are going on currently and, really use them as real life examples. So we're looking forward to that. All right, cool. Let's jump into our daily then, so we can get that up here, and won't skip it today. Like sometimes we don't get to it. So we got the daily right here. Richard, take it away.
So what do we have today? We see the sun is in the 13, the gate 13. So I always like to start out with the gene keys, the shadow, the gift, and the city. The 13, the shadow is discord. Discord goes from discord to discernment to empathy. Now that's very interesting. And it's, the kind of underlying theme is listening, listening with our heart, rather than just how we've been programmed. So let's take a look at the, the shadow. What is discord? Discord is when, it refers to specifically to, for example, in music, when the various notes are not in harmony, which creates a discordant sound. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here, discord, where there is a lack of harmony in people's perceptions, where there's conflict, where there's violence, where there's specifically talking about, for example, the media today, it seems to me, like to sow seeds of discord in people, which are these, words they use, which are set up to create conflict within people, discord. Now the way out of that is through discernment, what is discernment? Well, that's listening with the heart, listening with your heart to discern what someone is actually saying, versus, what they just appear to be saying. Do they have pure motives for what they are saying? Or is there some agenda behind it? Is there some agenda behind what someone is saying? That's discernment. Being able to, listen, which means taking in all this information, not just the words a person's using, but their tone and their attitude, and the background information to what they're saying, and their perhaps motivations, their possible motivations for what they are saying. All these things are included in listening, true listening with the heart, where we, where you go beyond mere appearances, the mere words, and look for the feeling behind the words. Are they saying what they're saying with a pure, true heart, or do they have hidden ulterior motives behind what they're saying that will inevitably create discord? When something is not in harmony, you can sense that. The truth has a certain vibration to it, which untruth does not. And that's discernment, being able to see that, which requires going beyond the surface of things, the appearances of things, which unfortunately is where most people are locked into in their views. They will see like a particular news bulletin and take that to be the absolute truth of what is really going on, which is, of course, is what it's set up to do. But this is going beyond the surface, and that's ultimately what empathy is, which is the city of empathy, which is feeling with someone, getting inside them, feeling their feelings. Empathy is different from, for example, sympathy. Sympathy means, I think sympathy actually means feeling with, where you, it's just kind of still on the surface of things, right? But empathy, you're going deep and you're actually, feeling what they feel. You're putting yourself in their shoes. That's empathy. And so, to apply that to listening, you put yourself in whoever you're listening to's position, and that's how you can, that's the ultimate, city going up one level higher of discernment. That's the ultimate discernment, is putting yourself in their place. And then you're able to see exactly what is going on. You're able to feel it. It's going within, is empathy. So yeah, the 13 today, today would be a good day to figure some things out, to discern, what someone is really saying, and we got the 13.4, which, so today's a fourth line day. So it's all about externalizing. It's all about externalizing. It's all about, these close community connections in one way or another.
Yeah, it's a perfect day to talk about it today. And yeah, I just want to, just as you're talking, Richard, the themes that come to me, one is the word karma, which simply just means action. It's a Sanskrit word that follows the theme, the basic fundamental principle of the universe, which is every action is followed by an equal and opposite reaction. So the reason I say this, looking at things in two ways, as far as listening and projecting, okay? With the collective stream, the collective mass norm, and what the collective naturally gives authority over, we tend as a species to just automatically say, oh, that's true. So when people watch the news or whatnot, they just automatically assume that the information they're being given is the truth, and it's the answer, and it's the authority. And so I'm just going to listen to it and I'm going to follow it. And as David Icke always talks about, information controls perception, which controls behavior. So whatever information you condition someone with, if they're open to it and they believe it and they decide to take it on or behave in, you know, such a way to follow it, you've got control of them. And I'm not looking at it as good or bad. It's just that as a general scheme here, most of the society will just listen to the authority or to what is mainstream, as in the norm of how we should live and who we should follow and what's telling us the truth or not. So we're a little too open there. So that's why I would say discernment is key here, so that you start to become more neutral to the information without just assuming because the identity or the brand behind it is saying it. Next is the opposite, I think I find in the personal relationship nature. This is why I brought up the word karma. Also, in the sense that the people, your close ones, the ones you love the most or work with, friends, family, you have, the more experience you have with them, the more karma you've built up, which means unless you're conscious of getting in the moment, you already have a projection of what that person means or what they're trying to say or how they really act or what their initiative is based on the past. And you could be missing out of what's actually coming in the present. You know, so to me, discernment is one aspect to where, hey, is this correct or not? And what's right for me or not? But the other element is, are we limiting it and blocking what's coming in because we already have a prior assumption of the person speaking it? So every moment is new. So we want to become new, get out of the mind and attempt to be open and listen and be empathic, and then discern what's right or what's wrong for you. And on the other side to that, maybe we need to be a little more discerning to the collective mainstream or what we give authority to, even subconsciously, that we automatically take for truth. So this is a conscious perspective of how we receive and retain and act on information.
Yeah, Jarin, and you know, we look at the Earth, the programming partner to the 13, the 7, and we see the shadow is division. The shadow of division is the 7. So discord and division, you know, those shadows kind of compound each other and work with each other. So that's ultimately, you know, think of how many things in the collective mind we see that are all about division, dividing people, you know, dividing them by race, especially is one of their main tools, you know, get people of different races to have bad thoughts of each other, basically, which then manifests in reality as, you know, violence or something like that.
Yeah. I just wanted to say,
Yeah.
Jarin brought up David Icke and the totalitarian tiptoe, right? They call it too.
Yeah.
Is that little bits and pieces of things going that way, the momentum going that way, and it all of a sudden it's huge, and you can't even stop the momentum of it.
Yeah, and you've got the problem reaction solution too, you know, that David Icke talks about, you know.
Yeah.
You know, discernment is how, you know, once you know that's a thing, you know, you can start seeing that. You can start discerning the truth of events that are happening. And just some more words about the 7. The 7 is the gift of guidance, in the city of virtue. So that's the grounding energy for today, the earth. So it's a good day to be virtuous, you know, to really look to those higher principles, you know, and because again, if we think back to the 13 and how that's the programming partner, you know, and discernment, we see it has a lot to do with virtue, with the person's virtue, and being able to see through a person to see if they are virtuous or not, you know, and then that gives you some idea if what they're really saying is really true or not. You know, are they a virtuous person, or do you have reason to doubt that? You know.
Yeah, and I'm just noticing with today's pattern that the 13 is also present in Jupiter. You know, so
Yeah.
even bigger of an energy. You know, this other than the sun, think about the biggest, planet in our solar system, right?
Yeah.
Jupiter has a major effect. It amplifies it. So the listening and the discerning, when I see this, I see that as even bigger. And then I see that the 10 gate, which is about love. So we're sitting here talking about virtue and love and self-worth of what we're willing to receive and not, or be projected upon or not, is even felt and exaggerated today because it's in our Venus and our Mars. And it's
Wow,
in a point, and it's in a 0.3 each of them, which means experiential, being in the experience of what love means and what your identity of yourself is, and being your authentic self amidst the masculine and feminine, so just to add to what you're saying, I see that as, adding to this to make this even more prominent, what we're talking about today.
Yeah, well, I didn't even notice that. So yeah, we've got a conjunction between Venus and Mars today. So that's very interesting. And the 10 is also is a lot about behavior as well. It's in the I Ching, it's called conducting oneself, which it goes hand in hand with virtue, just as you were talking about. And we've got the right angle cross of the Sphinx today. People with an individual direction whose unique way of remembering experiences brings a living, vibrant past into the future. So remembering experiences, that's the 13. The 13, it's in the channel of the prodigal. It's a witness. The 1333 forms that channel. So and you notice if you're into human design, maybe you know that the 13 is the ultimate ending point for the collective experiential human process. It starts at the 41 and ends in the 13. So the 13 is kind of this collecting storehouse of human experience. It's also called the gate of secrets, and that goes hand in hand with listening. You'll find that people just tend to come up to you and want to tell you things, want to tell you their secrets. And as you go through life, you wind up collecting those secrets and those experiences. So that's what it's talking about in the cross of the Sphinx.
And Richard, would you be more likely to want to reveal a secret as well because of that?
Yeah, well, especially if you have 33 as well. The 33, we can see the 33 is in the throat. So that's where the secrets actually get expressed. So if you just have the 13, you got to be careful maybe for some transit when the 33 is activating you, and then all of a sudden you'll find that you're telling all your secrets, and you don't even know why.
Yeah, that could be a messy situation there.
Yeah.
Depending on what you got, what kind of skeletons you got in your closet.
Yeah. You got to be careful. That's why you should look at the transits.
Yes, before you start your day. Very cool. Very cool stuff. All right. Is there anything more you want to say about the daily, Richard, or before we move on?
Well, let's see. I'll talk a bit about the North Node. The North Node, we've got, I like to look at the North Node occasionally, although the North Node, it lasts over a period of time, several weeks or months even. The 42, which is about growth and increase. So now's the time when we can be focused on that, focused on growing and increasing ourselves, which, in the large part has to do with cleaning up our life, cleaning up what we are listening to. If we're taking in the wrong information, we're going to have bad results. So, combining growth with the 13, discernment, maybe today you can feel how important it is to have good discernment in who you're listening to. What are the sources of your information? Are they trustworthy? Are they virtuous? That's something that a lot of people, they don't even consider. Oh, well, I saw it on the news, it must be true. no, it doesn't. It's not necessarily true. That's the mind-blowing thing to a lot of people. And then once you realize that, you start to realize how actually this news media, these people who are running the thing, actually they lack virtue. They lack virtue, and you can see that, and which helps your discernment even more.
Yeah, very, very cool stuff here. Go ahead, Jarin.
And lastly, I'm just going to mention in the Mercury is the 60 gate, which in an ideal state is speaking about justice. You know, Mercury,
yeah, 60, yeah.
Yeah, Mercury has to do with, you know, thinking and communicating. So, you know, there's a conditioning element to thinking and communicating right now. And ideally, it's on what do you want to make real in your life? What is real in your life? What is illusion? You know, the shadow of the 60 is limitation. But anything that's false and illusionary is ideally or inevitably limitation. You know, so we need to take a look at what's real in our life, you know, and through discernment, but even communicating about it, you know, communicating and making real or embracing morals that you want to adhere to and behave as such, like the 10 is present there, to what's real and justice. So I just find it interesting to go through this process we're in the world and what we're talking about in this timeline right now, and just bringing up the word justice, you know, focusing on what matters. And what will become the future is what you act on now. And your karma and the collective karma will come back around. So the hard work prepares you, meaning doing the things that might be more challenging or being honest, and as a collective will bring us to greater justice and a greater, better future, as opposed to denial, ignoring things, casting spells in the false direction, as we're going to go into, and creating a worse off future. So I just see things coming to light, people communicating. And of course, the shadow and the light are going to be expressed in all this. You know, it's a spectrum. You know, these are words to help identify the spectrum. And I think right now we need to look at being ourselves, listening and learning to what's real in front of us and who we feel is and what we feel is correct, behaving in an authentic way, and doing it in a way that is integral with the fundamental principles of the universe, which would be what is right and what is wrong, which for a long time has been ignored and has been allowed. And this is the transition we're going through that's going to end all that. And we're going to witness all this stuff come up.
Hopefully. I'm looking for, I've been waiting for this one for a while there, Jarin. I've been waiting for a lot of this stuff to come out and be proven the way I'd like to see it be proven, right? And to have some corruption be gone on this planet. So we shall see soon enough during this period of time. It does seem like there's a lot of momentum on this planet towards good, you know, conquering evil. And even though it may look chaotic right now, it's like oil rising above the water and showing its ugly face all over the place. And it's there. We see corruption all the time, every day now. So we're getting there, guys. And maybe with today's, you know, in this realm we're in, we're getting even closer to that time. But we shall see. Who's going to reveal some secrets for us, huh? Very cool. Very cool. All right. So there's your daily, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and you know, take some things away from that, and try to implement it into the rest of your day here and into tomorrow, because this kind of realm that you're in right now, it lasts a while. It's not just one day and it's gone. It's still going to be around that same type of energy. So continue down your path with that knowledge. So yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
good
about
point.
a week. You know, the sun
Good point, Greg.
stays in the
It'll
same
be here
way
a couple
about
days.
week. So
yeah. So we're day 4, as it says 4, right? And so yeah, about another day or so, and then it'll start switching over to something else. Yep. But good stuff there. Love it. All right. So our topic of the night is going to be spells, projections, and poison arrows. And Richard prepared this for us, so we'll take a look here at what he's got. There we go. All right. Looking professional there.
yeah, guys. So to me, this is a very important and practical topic, which we can dive into. So spells, projections, and poison arrows. Well, so I've talked a lot about this book, the I Ching Oracle, the Cosmic Way, which is where the cosmic and cosmic human design comes from. Just like in the original human design, they had the Rave I Ching, which is the I Ching that Ra Uru Hu kind of designed for human design. Cosmic human design uses this version of the I Ching, which I believe is the actual official definitive version of the I Ching, because it's coming to us directly from the cosmic consciousness, or the source, whatever you want to think of it as, all those types of things. So one of the main points in the book is that we're living through a parallel reality right now, which I'm sure a lot of you can empathize with, like a matrix. We're living in a matrix. And it makes the suggestion, the book makes the suggestion that this is due primarily to what it calls our false use of language, And, it's true that language and words have a certain power to them that affects our consciousness, which then affects our reality that is around us and that we manifest, that we co-create. I like to think of it as like the language, the words that we have in our kind of our inner program, those repetitive words and phrases that make up who we believe ourselves to be. If we're using those words wrongly or using false words, it can create a fence around our thoughts, which, translates into a fence around us in reality, a prison, a matrix. That's the thing going on nowadays. We've got these words that also turn into beliefs and belief systems, and then that gets put out to everybody, and then everybody's co-creating the fence, the matrix, because of the words they're using, And, so these false words come in basically these three forms: spells, projections, and poison arrows. And they're each a different kind of way that words or language are used falsely. And we'll take a look at each of those. So projections, spells, and poison arrows consist of phrases and images that are not in harmony with the cosmos. They bring harm not only to the person who receives them, but also to the sender. So there we've got the definition. These are phrases and images, which words can also form images, that are not in harmony with the cosmos, okay? Let's take a look at projections. Projections consist of imps or demons that are projected into a person's psyche through negative thoughts or spoken words. The person can also put them on himself. They can cause headaches or compel a person to say something he does not believe, simply because someone has imagined him to have those kinds of thoughts. Wow. So a projection is when you believe something about another person. You, for example, believe that they are a certain way, and then that actually affects them and has a real effect on them, and also affects you as the one sending the projection. And to get concrete about this, let's look at some examples of what a projection is. Thoughts of vengeance or justice. For example, he will pay for having done this to me. So that's a projection. That's a projection because you're making a statement, about someone. You're projecting that onto them. For example, thoughts based on arbitrary wishes. Example, I wish she was here now. She would know what to do. That is a projection. When we have these arbitrary wishes, That's a projection. Certain phrases that contain the word must. You must obey your parents. So again, that is projecting something on someone else, saying that they must obey their parents, which has an actual effect on them. Common sayings that can act as projections. For example, you never know, just the words, you never know. Such a phrase projects a doubt upon the situation that opens the door to unwanted elements, such as making a person take precautions to defend or protect himself rather than inquiring about the inner truth of the situation. So that simple phrase right there, you never know, that is projecting doubt into the situation. You see how you know, even these small words and phrases can create these effects in people. Here's a good one. Certain phrases that have shoulds in them, and then the projection gets renewed every time a person thinks that phrase. Example, I should not drink coffee, implying that coffee is bad for my health. This is a projection the person puts on himself and on the coffee, with the effect that he cannot enjoy coffee anymore. So that's the actual effect you get from that projection. You know, if you say, I should not drink coffee, isn't that funny? You know, and the effect of that, it says, are that it creates guilt in the person whenever he drinks it, and it demonizes the consciousness of the coffee. So that's another thing. Everything in the cosmos has consciousness, even things that don't appear to. Like, for example, the water in the coffee. I like this one here. Projections by manufacturers put on foods and drinks and on the consumers. They are caused by egotistical desires to get consumers addicted to the product or give the product the appearance of being special or top rank. Such projections add a demonic element to the product that can cause a headache or digestive problems. Wow. Wow. So yeah, certain food, you know, is labeled a certain way. That's also a projection. So, you know, I hope you're getting the general idea of what a projection is. And remember, it has to be something that is not in harmony with the cosmos, or something that, in other words, is not true, that you are projecting outward. So that, you know, if we think about this, we can see how much our words and our language can affect reality, which is something that a lot of people do not consider in everyday life. You know, it's just kind of mind-blowing.
Richard, the one that jumps out to me the most is being a personal trainer and, you know, seeing people throughout my lifetime with fitness health problems that want to do something about it. Their famous word is, I should. I should call you. I should get a personal trainer. I should make it to the gym today. I should, you know, everything's I should. And it's never, that is such a word that's going to basically push it away. That's not going to help you get to where you want to go. You know, if you're going to say, I'm going to the gym, that's different. I'm going to call you tonight.
Yeah.
That's different. But when you say that should word, that's a spell right there. That's a projection, you know. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to say, for me personally, this topic is huge in my heart. I mean, I've made a life and career out of, you know, studying and practicing and communicating with others on this very theme here, which really is life itself. You know, it's consciousness itself that creates reality through a force that, in this sense, we're talking about comes from sound. You know, and all of existence comes from sound. So everything you see outside of you that has been materialized, that has been condensed into matter, inevitably came from some conscious entity that voiced it or sounded it into existence. But having said it, it's all an illusion and it all changes. Everything changes. Nothing is actually real. So this points to belief. If you believe the coffee is bad for you, then it has much more of a tendency to be bad for you. I froze. Sorry about that.
You're good. Yeah, definitely. We hear you, Jay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, but if you believe that the coffee is, if you believe that the coffee is good for you, then it is. I tell a joke because for years when I would start a motivational or an educational talk, I would start with a cup of coffee and I would tell the joke that I had good coffee karma, you know, that I had loved coffee so much and that I decided to put a spell on it, that every time I drink coffee, something good is going to happen. And it does. And I have countless stories. The 33 is not active today, so I won't tell you those stories. No, just a joke. But I have lots of stories of literally having a sip of coffee and watching great things come about. Like synchronicities is the real word. Like a synchronicity will happen towards a manifestation. Now it's all playing a game of belief and playing a game of casting spells. When my body would get tested, be honest with you, my body would get tested, and because of, you know, travel and certain circumstances, physiologically, my body would say, no, you don't want too much coffee. And my arm would go down. But then when I say, yeah, but is it a good thing for me in my life and what it creates in my mindset? And my arm would stay up, you know, and it proved to me that my belief was that this coffee was a good thing for me for making life happen, even though physiologically my body told me the truth and said, yeah, but you've had too much. You don't need any more, you know, balance it. And my whole point in this is it's all about your belief, and it's all magic, and it's all a dream, and you make the dream real, and your sounds and your words and your thinking in your mind, which is a bunch of sounds, is causing this to happen. And you also are, since it goes into the topic of the day, you know, you're thinking thoughts that aren't even of your own, and you're voicing out things subconsciously that aren't even yours. So discernment is really key to get in touch with your real self. Then decide consciously, sometimes by taking a pause, not only your reaction to things, but what you say and what you believe, and recorrecting your words so that, you know, they're not only more positive, but they're more truthful, they're more strong, they're more direct. And it takes courage to do so, because you may have a mirror in front of you that may have an opposite opinion of what you might say, you know, but the courage is, can you say what's true and what's right for you? And the last thing I want to say before Richard continues is also thinking, and I know we've touched on this before, but all the villains that we see out there that we're going to blame, you know, inevitably humans have, in a sense, have created them. You know, the demons have been thought and voiced out, and it's actually magnetized it to us. So this is a species that's evolving so that it transmutes its energy to a higher dimensional perspective, which means a higher dimensional words and thinking, which then transmutes and vanishes all the villains and false shadow archetypes that we see around us. So we're not blaming anyone here, although no guilt, blame is real. But as a society, we can create more of what we don't want, which is what they, quote unquote, you to do, create for itself. The only thing that it can do is manipulate something else that can create, which is a human being, a sovereign human being with the creator's spark of God within you, to think and behave and speak in the way that they want you to create the reality they want. So it's so important to get your attention off of what's not right for you or doesn't feel good, and onto what is right, what does feel good, who does feel good around you, and speak and voice and act where you want to go. Because as you do that, just like neural pathways in the brain, neuroplasticity, as you put your energy on the positive or on what you want and what's next, the negative will naturally not be given energy. So besides fighting this war, if we focus on what we're doing, the 144,000 and whatever else you want to call it, Eden, or the new earth, is created, and the villains, which were false words and thoughts and behaviors anyways, will gradually die out. So the real power here is the power in our own self to project, not projection on someone else, but to project reality how we wish it to go.
And if you don't believe in manifestation or the magic of life, as Richard reads these, just realize all the negative you bring to yourself just by saying these things and creating these things. It's all creation. It's all about your intention and how you're saying your words. So be weary of all of that, because manifestation is very real here. All right.
Yeah, and speaking of, let's take a look at spells. Spells, a very interesting one here. So basically the thing with spells are that they have the effect of fixing a person or parts of his personality in a certain way, or they have the effect of freezing reality in time in a certain way. That is a spell. Certain words, fix or freeze reality. They have the ability to do that. And they can be a single word or one or more phrases, essentially that have no cosmic basis. So again, we're saying something that, has no cosmic basis. It's made up. It's made up by the ego, by the mind. These words, that's the thing about words, is they have the power to create a false consciousness. That's the power of them. And that consciousness, that false consciousness, exists nowhere else in the entire cosmos. It's just these words that we do indeed have the power to create through free will. And this is helping us to identify those words that we should stop creating, because they're harmful. So it says here, the consequences of a spell can be compulsive or other neurotic patterns of behavior that prevent a person from developing his uniqueness, because again, the spell fixes them in a certain way. It kind of freezes their reality. In actuality, that's what it's doing. So two of the big spells, which are the basis of other spells, are created by the ideas that, quote, in and of ourselves, we are born inadequate to deal with life, and therefore must look to the social fabric around us for our needs because, quote, that is all there is. So it says this idea represses our feeling connection with the cosmic consciousness into a sphere of consciousness called the subconscious. So, that idea, having that idea that you were somehow born inadequate to deal with life, can cause a variety of problems for you. And you need to look inside and see if that's something you actually believe. And just like, for example, the other one it mentions here, that, quote, our animal nature is the source of evil in the world. And by animal nature, it means sexual nature. It means sex. It means, that kind of stuff, which a lot of people do attach guilt to. They view sex or as a sin, as a source of evil. And that's the problem with it, because then it becomes evil, and it acts out demonically for that person or persons.
Richard, let me interrupt you for a second.
Yeah.
I had one of my first girlfriends, long-term girlfriend. She was Catholic and raised Catholic, and it was the strangest transition into having sex because of the guilt, and it was so very odd, like some of the things that would come up, and I couldn't believe how ingrained it was, that it was so guilty and all that stuff. It was interesting. So that was a very interesting spell you brought up there.
Yeah, and this is one of the main negative spells, affecting the whole world, because religions teach this idea of original sin, which is a spell, which puts a spell on you because it's implying that you have some inextinguishable guilt. That's original sin. It's inextinguishable. That's the problem. That's what makes guilt different from blame. Guilt is inextinguishable by its very nature, which of course is a false idea that doesn't exist in the cosmos. It only exists in that word, in those words that we can create, which causes problems for us. So we've got these following categories of spells here. Spells consisting of a single word that misidentifies a thing or creates a negative consciousness that is contrary to the cosmic harmony. And it's saying here, such a word is guilt. The guilt spells it creates are the most destructive spells because they block the helper of transformation in the person. Essentially, they block all your progress in life because you're weighed down by the guilt, by the inextinguishable stain on your psyche. They also act as door openers to other spells and projections. Another is the word culprit. So the word culprit is a spell, because again, it creates this negative consciousness. It creates an opposition. It creates, and that's the thing, because nothing in the in the cosmic harmony is really in opposition. If there were things actually in opposition, then there would be no point to the whole cosmos, because it would be, constantly battling itself. I mean, what's the point of that? So just this single word, culprit, creates that negative energy, which is created in and of the word itself. And we've also got spells consisting of one or more seed phrases that assert a thing is this or that way. Example, life is suffering. That's a spell. This phrase puts a spell on the person's life who has accepted that idea. And by the way, that's the thing with these spells and projections, is that you can always say no to them, and then they can no longer affect you. If you are sincerely saying no to it, then it has no effect on you. But it helps to know what you're saying no to. It helps to know what it is, that, because otherwise, if you don't know what you're saying no to, then it may continue.
And Richard, I just want to touch upon this word spell again, and then also the guilt aspect, because it was listed first, and we talked about it a few weeks ago, and it's something so big. So I just was thinking originally again of what's the most powerful spell you've ever heard of? Let there be light. In the Bible, in the Hindu tradition, all the way back to how they try to forecast the Big Bang, there was a spell that created existence. So let's just project yourself back. Your ego may get in the way or think that I'm speaking from ego in the sense to saying that you started creation, because you did. Your energy through entanglement is connected to the beginning of creation. So you said, let there be light. Why? Because you wanted to experience outside of your inner self into the material, physical, visible universe. And all it is an experience that never ends. There really is no good and bad, because inevitably, although the feeling is real, it's all an illusion and a game. And thankfully, all of us are part of this creation that have the uniquely and equally given power and at its source to be able to change and control the fabric of our reality. So who are we to judge what's right or wrong, or what somebody believes in or not, or how they behave or not? If it's evading upon you, then of course you have a right to protect yourself with what's right for you or discern. But forget invading upon you. Like, that's just another entity living their own spells. They're living their own experience. So focus on your own. Realize that we're all in a game of experience, and we can change and transmute and transform ourselves through inner change. Okay. Then lastly, the guilt part, which I was actually texting with Richard and Greg the last few days to do with, lack of self-worth and discussing topics, of this nature. And as a collective, I can, for me, very clearly see that the greatest curse, quote unquote, on humanity is the fact that we aren't unconditionally receiving. And we'll give an authority away to God that he is unconditionally giving. But we don't understand that that means she is unconditionally receiving. And much of the reason we don't live the life we want to live, and we don't live free, and we don't live passionate, lustful, abundant lives, is because we do feel unworthy. We feel sinful, as Richard mentioned earlier, even on a subconscious level through the conditioning of the species over time in this, world and matrix we're living in. So it is a lot of inertia to overcome for us to get to the point where we are 100% in love with ourselves, really, and we become in love with the universe again, the helper, loving universe, and get on board with that and receive all the gifts that the universe wants to give us, as much as it is going after it it's receiving it. And so to do that, we have to realize that we are worthy of everything, and we are at the source of everything inevitably anyways, and it's all a game. So let's just play around. Let's enjoy it. Right?
Yeah, that's I think what the cosmos wants for all of us really is ultimately to enjoy life. That's what life wants for itself, most of all. So yeah, absolutely, this guilt sin thing, it's just paralyzing. It's paralyzing, the idea of it in and of itself. Yeah, I really love that.
Well, the religion, not, and I'm not a judge because I listen and learn from everything, including all religions, but that source is a big one. I mean, because if you can convince people that they're inherently wrong and they need to focus on their sins, what are they going to create? More spells of limits, of cages, of sins, of karmic experience, and the whole matrix that we're living now. Yeah. So sooner rather than later, if we forgive ourselves and forgive everyone around us and start spelling ourselves into a positive, loving, happy life, we break ourselves free from that. So sorry, go ahead.
No, absolutely, Jarin. This next one here is a huge one. Spells consisting of a self-image. A self-image. This is a huge one, which everyone has probably dealt with at one time or another. For example, the self-image of the wife, or the quote-unquote good person, the superior man, etc. These things, they lock the person into the behavior demanded by the image. So essentially, you wind up sacrificing your true nature to the nature of the image, the self-image that you've developed, or the self-image of the good employee. That's one too. Or the self-image of the person who's always on time. There's so many self-images that people create, and they fix a person's nature, causing him to behave in the way defined. And so it's like you're constantly trying to live up to the self-image that you create, which becomes a spell, that you've created for yourself.
It sounds
which
like
is another way of locking yourself into a prison.
I know that one.
Expectations. It sounds like very much expectations, and yeah, that can be a very slippery slope. I'm a perfectionist. Well, guess what? You're never going to be perfect. Then you're never going to be at the finish line, and you just keep pushing the goalpost forward into failure.
Yeah. But Greg, let's go ahead and scroll down here so I can get to the poison arrows. I wanted to look at those as well. Yeah, that's good here. Go back up just a tad. I wanted to get that last one. Spells created by the 3 W's: wishing, wondering, and worrying. Such wishes take away a person's uniqueness in that they connect him or her by likeness with another person. For example, a strong dislike of another person can make one rush to put oneself in an opposite box, with the result of going away from oneself. The same happens when one likes someone a lot and therefore identifies with him. So that's very interesting. Wishing, wondering, and worrying, the 3 W's, which, are ultimately kind of these ego activities that we're looking at here. Now, poison arrows. So this is the last one. Poison arrows are thoughts projected into the psyche and body of oneself or another that create a poisonous reaction in the body. Now, this is very interesting. So these words create harmful bodily reactions. That's what distinguishes a poison arrow from a spell. It's like a poison arrow that you're shooting at someone or yourself. They always cause physical illness. So again, we have guilt is up there. I'm a born sinner. You know, that's going to create a problem. Comparisons of all kinds. They injure a person's unique abilities and prevent him from expressing them.
Well, with the internet now, Richard, that's a big one.
Yeah, wow. Everyone's always trying to compare themselves to other people, but you know, that's taking away from your own uniqueness, you know, which is ultimately the purpose of your life.
Yeah. I was going to say a lot of this has to do with the external, you know, the wishing in the negative way is wishing something for someone else, like you want to change them, or you wish, like in the case of the father wishing the son had better grades, right? Or, you know, wishing you were something else, or wishing you were better, you know, or you didn't make mistakes or whatever. These are the negative wishes. The positive wish is you have a wish to experience something and you create it. Okay. There are positive wishes, but this is negative wishes because it has to do with comparisons, and it has to do with the outside, external. And what limits us the most is comparison to the external and the past of our own self. And we're comparing to that person, or we're holding on to the identity and the beliefs of before. This is what karma is, whether conscious or not. And so and this is what the mainstream wants you to do. Focus on the external, compare to them, or tell you what's right and wrong, and go back in history to constantly have you in the past so that they can recreate it, which it's running out now. But external past is way too much. So now we need more internal future. Worry about yourself and the future, and more energy and sound into that. And compare, if you want to compare anything, you compare your own growth. You know, you compete against yourself. You want to grow yourself, not in a judgment way, just in a sense of, I want to grow, I want to achieve more, I want to become whatever. That's the right comparison when it's directed inwards on your future, and not in comparison and all this external. I know we're going a little over today, but I think it's such a great topic.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good for a little overtime.
You know, it's what you should be doing is you know, going up your own ladder, your own stairway to heaven,
Yep.
which is yourself, and is actually going to wind up being everything you could have ever dreamed of anyways, if you just follow what you're designed, what you're kind of destined to do. You know, you'll find it's the most fulfilling thing you could have ever dreamed of. That's the beauty of it. Instead of trying to be like someone else, which is a superficial comparison. Absolutely. Now, one down here is very interesting to me, and you guys might find this one hard to believe, but inherited diseases, when they contain a comparison, are caused by poison arrows. Wow. Example, you have inherited your father's heart problem. So, wow. So you're telling me that single phrase can actually cause someone to have a heart problem.
Yeah.
You know, or she has inherited her mother's bad genes. Such a poison arrow actually alters the chromosomes.
Wow.
And disables his self-healing abilities. Wow. Now that is a massive one. When we talk about applications of this to health, and that the possibility that a lot of people's health problems are imaginal, like they don't actually exist. They only exist because we think that they exist, because we've done something, we believe something negative about our own body, and that causes it to manifest.
Wow. That's a big statement right there, Richard.
Yeah, it's been given enough energy, whether in one moment of one strong emotional direct reaction, you know, poison arrow, even in a sense, because it's conscious and it's focused and it's harnessed and it's powerful, or repetition of habit over and over and over again. These are the things that are required to manifest anything. And anything that's manifested in you is some spectrum in between that, which inevitably was illusion to begin with, and inevitably came from you or what you decided to take on. So to strip ourselves of this, we want to strip ourselves of these views and realize, hey, my body listens to me. My body listens to my thoughts. My world is a result of my thoughts. And I can change it at any moment if I give it sufficient enough energy in a different, positive, contrasting direction. And that everything inevitably is changeable. Everything. The will can accomplish anything. It can overcome anything if you can give it enough energy.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, I'm really good at with my type, giving good real life examples. And when we talk about this category especially, and comparing, oh boy, I'm losing my train of thought. I had one, and now I'm losing it. I was in the middle of typing something here. I want to know what you guys' favorite category is, and which one you resonate the most with. I think it's a really awesome topic tonight. And, I think if you're watching this right now, and it's almost like taking a college course. This is amazing stuff here. The I Ching is just full of just so real life stuff. It's so hitting home.
It is
like,
life.
Wow, this is it, right? There is no argument here. This is what goes on in our lives every single day when we look at, creating disease inside of ourselves. Absolutely. Have you ever had the feeling, I know I get this way around my mother. My mom likes to be a little bit of a hypochondriac. So when I go there, she'll tell me, oh, there's a stomach bug going around. Everybody's puking, I know. And, oh, they're getting these symptoms and that symptoms. And guess what happens to me after I leave that house? I start thinking about it. And then I start thinking, is that a symptom? Did I just have a symptom there? Oh, man, I'm not feeling so good. And I swear to God, about 2 or 3 times in my life, she's brought it on inside of me. And I couldn't stop it from happening because I was so fixated on what she was saying. And I was trying to forget about it, but it just kept on coming back and coming back. And I created it to happen. And I ended up getting sick.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting, Greg, because if it was a stranger, you probably wouldn't even listen. You'd say no in your head.
Right.
But because you're used to that person and you love that person and it's habitual, you give your authority away to it subconsciously easier. You don't say no, and then you take it on. It's a prime, honest example that I think is a good. It's a wonderful example to share with people about how this works and how it can work rather easily if you're not paying attention. And as Richard's always pointing out, if you're not giving the inner no when you want it to be a no. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, and going back to our original topic for the night in listening, if we zoom out a little bit, maybe we can see that actually COVID in and of itself is a poison arrow. COVID is a poison arrow created by certain people so anyone who really believes in COVID has and believes everything the media is saying about it, has a decent chance to manifest it, to get it, but I'm not worried about it whatsoever because I don't really believe in it. And so I know that I'm not going to get it, because I know how this works, because I've said no to it, because I've said no to COVID, and that might sound crazy to some people, oh, well, it's got to be real. It's got to be real. But I mean, this is a real possibility. We've seen how your beliefs about the body, about a condition that you may have, and what Greg just said about being a hypochondriac can cause these manifestations of this condition. Well, that seems to me to be exactly what's going on with all the COVID panic.
Yeah, for sure, Richard. When we look at anything that goes around, all those diseases and everything else with cancer and everything else, right? It just seems like once it gets out there into the media and it's talked about, there's specials about it, there's clinics that you drive by that say special cancer center, all these things that get in your head at all times. If you're not a very strong-willed person and understand how strong you are and that your body can take care of almost anything. Like if you think about it, you have viruses in your body at all times. You have cancer cells in your body at all times. They just don't activate, right? They don't manifest. But if you are hearing about it and thinking about it and worrying about it, stressing, then you're going to have a much higher chance of developing something like that. And the same with COVID.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. It was like, do I have a common cold? Do I have an allergy? Do I have this? Oh, I have a symptom. Uh-oh, right? And you start going down that path of like, I think I got it. Oh my God. So this is the panic that happens inside, and the manifestation just starts rolling forward without that willpower to say, oh, no. We're not going here. We're not doing that. I'm fine. And then back to center, right? That's where you need to go in those situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's actually, people have, I believe sometimes you've got the impression that, it's hard to say no, like, in fact, that's where a lot of this stuff is geared towards, to making you believe that it's hard to say no, when in fact it's easy to say no. If you think about it, it's not difficult at all to, in your mind, say no to something. It's a very simple thing, but we tend to think of it in a lot of cases as requiring this massive willpower, when in fact, in a way, that's an illusion that's created that makes us less likely to say no, when saying no would actually get rid of it altogether.
Yeah. And to wrap up for myself, speaking of the word illusion, Richard, it's inevitably everything outside of you is an illusion. We are conscious beings participating, and I happen to be in my meat suit, as do everybody else watching this today. But at its source, we're just playing a game and watching a movie screen, and everything is an illusion. But what controls our reality is our perceptions and beliefs. I call them our parents, how you perceive it and how you believe it. And the ultimate gift of being a human is that you have memory of the past and that you have the ability to imagine, but they're also your curses. And so the external, if a person or being or species wants to have a control over you, an authority over you, if they can control what you believe, they can control your world. And if you have this memory of being in fear of something that was 6 months ago or a year and a half now, 2 years ago now, all these things, it just builds and builds and builds. And if you have this memory, that memory is projecting itself forward. Then we have these wild imaginations of negativity because we've been conditioned into it. So you're worried about it, and they're causing you to create it yourself, even if you don't actually get it through something else, because you're believing it and you're imagining the worst and you're believing in it. So it's always important, and believe me, I'm not always there, but to try to get yourself as fresh as you can be, become the conscious spirit, and don't be governed by the past and the future of what the external society or even past experiences tell you what is real, and get into the moment, into the heart, where the heart lives in the moment. And that's how you view the world. That's what you see. And I would advise, lastly, to try to pay attention to most of what's actually in front of you, because the rest is in a different space and in a different time. You can only control what's in front of you and who's in front of you. And be aware of the other stuff. Sure, it's okay to have a little awareness, but your real power is in the reality that you're actually living from as fresh of a you, with the most positive thinking and words and actions you can do.
Yeah, great stuff. And when we talk about the ability to manifest, one of those things is to have that willpower inside of you to strengthen that immune system, to walk around with the right mindset of that strong, very almost impervious or bulletproof mindset. Is it always going to work? Well, in this society, it's very difficult to always continue down that path because you've got all these influences around you at all times. But it's going to do a really pretty good job of protecting you. And that's why meditation is so important on a daily basis. If you can get into meditation just for 5 to 10 minutes, can make a big difference in your mindset and how you can perceive the world going forward, right? It's all about your interaction with the world every day, from the internal to the external, not the external to the internal. That's when you get influenced by all the things out there. So keep that in mind as you walk through the world, that internal to external as your bulletproofness. And cool stuff. Any last words here, Richard, before we take off?
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. That's a nice way to close it up. It really is that every problem in your life can be solved by looking at it from the inside. Every problem in your life comes from something that is out of place internally, and that manifests externally. And that also means everything can be solved by looking inside. What am I believing that isn't true? What am I thinking about myself that isn't true, that's causing these external problems?
That's great. And thank you, everybody, for chatting all night. We didn't get to a lot of it, but we saw them. We certainly see them out of the corner of our eye and appreciate the things you're saying. And a lot of times we go back through and talk about some of the things that you guys bring up. So we appreciate you being here with us. In overtime tonight, we did a little overtime session, which is great because it was such an excellent topic. How could you ignore it? How could you end it without getting to the last poison arrow category? That was an amazing one as well. And I didn't know what that meant until you started talking about it. I was like, wow, that's amazing. So yes, all of that stuff right there can strengthen you and bring you into a great new mindset and new way of going about life. Start tomorrow, right first thing in the morning. Go into it with a warrior-like attitude. And we thank you for joining us. This is the Cosmic Human Design Podcast. You can find us on cosmichumandesign.com to get your free chart. YouTube.com/Cosmic Human Design. And also, me and JARIN are back live on Sunday mornings with my wife for the Rise Show. It's kind of a rebirth of the Rise Up Radio Show. We're going to be over there on Rumble, so you'll have to find us through the link tree, which is linktree/Rise the Next Evolution. So if you find us there, or just go to our Facebook pages or wherever, and you'll see some stuff. But you guys are awesome. Cosmic Human Design is very deep, very amazing. All the different ways you can improve your life through this. And Richard, I don't even know how you can hold so much information inside of you. This stuff is just amazing and can really change people's lives. And so if you want to work with JARIN or Richard on this stuff, they are coaching as well. So I think you can get a hold of them and they can help you out and really get to know yourself. Like really. Like this stuff is like, yeah. And
if you're ready for the fast track.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. You'll be instead of taking maybe a step forward and a couple steps back, step sideways, you're going to be taking actually leaping steps forward in your life with this stuff. So really great. All right, everybody. We will be back in 2 weeks on Wednesday night. Thank you, everybody.